tell you the first thing I tell motherfuckers is you don't even really want to get in this business for real. This is a business. It's like, you know what I'm saying, it's give or take. It's like a whole lot of times it don't even got nothing to do with your talent.
Like, she was just like that, man. Like, she didn't deserve that, man. That wasn't for her. That wasn't for her. Man, I ain't no funeral type of guy. I went to the funeral on my own.
Before Static Major passed, people started noticing he might have known way more about Aaliyah's death than he ever admitted. Static and Aaliyah weren't just close. They were tight, real tight. And both of them passed away young, suddenly, and under some seriously suspicious circumstances. Aaliyah's plane crash was labeled an accident, and Static's death got chalked up to a sudden health issue. But when you really break down the timing, the people around them, and the weird silence that followed both tragedies, it makes you start asking serious questions. See, Static wasn't just writing songs for Aaliyah, he helped craft that futuristic R&B sound that turned her into a straight-up icon. He was in the studio when her biggest tracks were made, and he had a front row seat to all the behind-the-scenes chaos. After she passed, Static didn't exactly speak out. He got real quiet, real careful. But then he started dropping little clues about how the music industry really works and how dangerous it can be for people who are too pure for that world. At one point, when asked, "What do you want your legacy to be?" Static said, "I mean, I know you're 22, but like, if you could be like, okay, this is what I want to be my mark as line, and we'll see where my head is at then." That line hit different. Now here's where it gets crazy. There's rumors that Static was keeping a secret diary during that time. Supposedly, he wrote down everything he couldn't say out loud, names, events, whispers, and all the shady stuff happening behind closed doors in the music biz. But that diary never released. And some folks claim it mysteriously disappeared. After Static passed, parts of that rumored diary started leaking online, and just from those bits alone, you could feel it. He was holding on to something big. Then out of nowhere, he dies too, right when he was gearing up for a solo comeback. So the real question is, what was Static trying to reveal? Did he know the truth behind what really happened to Aaliyah? And did someone make sure that truth stayed buried? Let's break this down. First off, we gotta clear something up. Too many people don't give Static Major the credit he deserves. People treat him like he was just some behind-the-scenes writer, but now, Static, real name Stephen Garrett, was a major force in late 90s and early 2000s R&B. He wasn't just in the group Playa. His real magic happened behind the boards, where he built the sound of a whole generation. Static didn't just write hits, he had that rare gift of predicting the future of music. He wasn't chasing trends, he was setting them. He had that special ear, always locked in on what was coming next. And when it came to Aaliyah, that bond went way deeper than just studio sessions. She wasn't just a collaborator, she was one of the few people Static really trusted in the industry. He co-wrote bangers like "Are You That Somebody?", "Try Again," "We Need a Resolution," and "More Than a Woman." Aaliyah's smooth, laid-back vocals were the perfect match for Static's lyrics. They were creating music that felt years ahead of its time, and folks who knew them personally, they've said it loud and clear. Static and Aaliyah had real mutual respect. Something rare in that world. Back in the day, there were whispers that Aaliyah and Static weren't just friends, and turns out, those rumors had some truth to them. According to Static's own mother, the two actually dated briefly in 1998 before deciding they were better off as close friends. Static's mom told the source they were definitely an item. Aaliyah was crazy about him. He brought Aaliyah to my wedding. That was a big deal because her parents didn't usually let her go out like that. That wasn't just some casual thing. So when Aaliyah passed in that tragic crash in August 2001, it wasn't just a career blow for Static, it hurt on a deep personal level. But here's what people forget. Static didn't try to cash in on her name like so many others did. He didn't ride her legacy or do interviews for clout. Instead, he got quiet. Real quiet. Almost like he was moving carefully, protecting something or someone. That's what makes what happened after even more suspicious. After Aaliyah's death, Static didn't completely vanish, but he definitely stepped out of the spotlight. He kept doing what he did best, writing. He worked with some of the biggest names in the game: Genuine, Truth Hurts, Brandy, and later even Lil Wayne. And just in case you didn't know, that voice on the hook of Lollipop, one of Wayne's all-time biggest hits, yeah, that's Static. He was still making waves, just doing it from the shadows, and that move might have been intentional. But behind the curtain, Static was cooking up something way more personal: his solo debut. After years in the background shaping other people's careers, he was finally ready to tell his own story. His album, Supper Time, was confirmed to be in the works before he passed in 2008, but it never dropped. The project was reportedly almost done, with several tracks already recorded and locked in. But after Static's sudden death, everything just stopped cold. The album got shelved, and to this day, it's never been released. No one really knows what happened to the full project, if it still exists, where it ended up, or if it'll ever be heard. But folks who worked closely with Static say this wasn't just another R&B album full of smooth love songs and late-night vibes. Nah, some of the tracks were darker, cryptic even, and one track allegedly touched on Aaliyah's power and what she represented. On top of that, Static was keeping a journal. He was writing notes, collecting thoughts, and according to people close to him, he had plans to speak his truth about what really went down, but was waiting for the right moment. That moment never came. On February 25th, 2008, Static checked into a hospital complaining of flu-like symptoms and shortness of breath. Just a few days later, he was gone. No major media coverage, no public autopsy, no investigation, nothing, just silence. Static was only 33 years old. He left behind his wife, Avanti Garrett, and 4 kids, and questions that still haven't been answered.
Aaliyah, what they did with her is the same thing that Quaker Mutua talks about in his thing, where he talks about they could get the energy of a young girl and put them in the bed with an old man, they can draw her energy. Aaliyah, what they did with Aaliyah is, although they sacrificed her, they did the movie Akasha, which means black substance and it's also a goddess in India and in Africa. They got Aaliyah, they didn't really kill her right off. What they did was they took Aaliyah and they was doing sex rituals with her for maybe about a year or 2 after she so-called supposedly died.
Static's family later filed a medical negligence lawsuit against Baptist Hospital East in Louisville, Kentucky. They ended up settling out of court, but the truth about what really caused his death still a mystery. And here's the wild part: you don't even have to be deep into conspiracy theories to start seeing the pattern. Static Major wasn't the first person in the music game to pass away young, and sadly, he wasn't the last. The industry's got a long, dark history of artists dying under strange, sudden, and never fully explained circumstances. Which brings us right back to Aaliyah. Her death wasn't just tragic, it was sketchy. The official story was rushed, full of holes, and loaded with contradictions. And now, over 20 years later, people are still asking the same questions. Why was she even on that plane in the first place? Who gave the green light? And why was she reportedly handed a sleeping pill and then carried onto the plane unconscious? One of the few eyewitnesses, Kingsley Russell, came forward with a chilling account. According to Kingsley, Aaliyah didn't want to board the flight. She went back to a taxi and said she had a bad headache. But then, someone from her team gave her a pill, and shortly after that, she was carried onto the plane while unconscious. Kingsley's family owned a local taxi business in the Bahamas, where Aaliyah was filming her last video, Rock the Boat, and he says he saw it all go down. Just hours later, that plane went down, killing Aaliyah and everyone else on board. Too many things just don't add up, and people haven't forgotten. The plane went down just 200 feet past the end of the runway, right after takeoff. The official story says the crash happened because the plane was overloaded and one of the engines failed. But over time, all kinds of conflicting reports started popping up. And even though it was ruled an accident, a lot of folks in the industry weren't buying that it was just some tragic fluke. Remember when Mary J. Blige called Aaliyah's death spiritual murder? You gotta ask, why would anyone use the word murder to describe a plane crash? Even if she didn't mean it literally, that's a heavy thing to say. And then Mary dropped this: "From what I know, it wasn't supposed to go down like that." That one line had people spinning. What did she mean by that? What exactly did she know? And why didn't she ever explain it? After that, folks started digging deeper and connecting dots. Big names like R. Kelly, Jay-Z, and Diddy started popping up, not just in gossip, but in serious conversations about who was close to Aaliyah, who had access to her, and who might have had a reason to keep her quiet or remove her altogether. Let's talk facts. R. Kelly didn't just date Aaliyah, he victimized her. He illegally married her when she was just 15 and he was 27. That's not speculation, it's official, and it was part of the case that helped send him to prison. But even after that, Aaliyah still had powerful men circling around her like vultures. Dame Dash once said Jay-Z knew what R. Kelly did to Aaliyah and still chose to work with him. Meanwhile, Jay himself allegedly became obsessed with Aaliyah and tried hard to get close to her, but she chose Dame. And if you've been listening to Jaguar Wright over the years, she's been saying loud and clear that Jay didn't take that rejection well. But here's where things start to spiral into something even darker. After Aaliyah's passing, her name kept getting brought up, not just in tribute songs, but in hushed convos about what she might have known before she died. See, some insiders say Aaliyah was starting to see the truth about the people around her. She wasn't just a rising star, she was becoming powerful, smart, and more aware of the shady games being played in the industry. There were whispers that she was planning to cut ties with certain people who had too much to lose if she spoke out. And when someone that high profile starts pulling away, folks behind the scenes notice. One former associate claimed Aaliyah had told someone close to her that she was done letting people use her. That alone sent shockwaves. Then came the rumors about deals, contracts, and people scrambling to control her music catalog after her death. Suddenly, there were all these legal battles, delays, and drama over her unreleased tracks. Why was it so hard to honor her legacy properly? Why were so many people fighting behind closed doors over her voice? And while all that mess was going on, the silence from certain corners of the industry was deafening. Some of the same powerful names that once clung to Aaliyah's spotlight seemed to back away real fast. No tributes, no interviews, just quiet. That kind of silence speaks volumes. Even now, fans are piecing things together. Little interviews, shady timelines, unreleased footage, and industry rumors that refuse to die. It's like the more you look, the more it feels like Aaliyah was caught in something much bigger than anyone realized. And she wasn't the only one. Because if you really look at what happened to Static Major, the overlap in their stories is chilling. Both gone too soon, both surrounded by mystery, and both tied to people who had a lot to protect. According to Jaguar Wright, Jay-Z's ego just couldn't handle the rejection. Aaliyah picking Dame over him was a move he didn't take lightly. The theory gets even darker. Some believe Jay wanted her out of the way, not just to punish Dame, but to clear the path for Beyonce to rise. And then there's Diddy. Aaliyah was seen at his infamous all-white parties, and whispers claim Jay may have used his connection with Diddy to try and get Aaliyah hooked on something. Substances, control, anything to break her independence and manipulate her. Yeah, it's speculation, but when you really zoom in on the power dynamics and the long, messy history of Jay and Diddy's friendship, it's not that far-fetched to think something shady could have been happening behind the scenes. One thing that isn't speculation, Aaliyah was surrounded by powerful men who wanted to control her from the moment she stepped into the spotlight. And heartbreakingly, the ones who should have protected her didn't. The few real ones who tried, like Static Major and DMX, they both died under circumstances that still don't sit right with a lot of people. Insiders have said Static didn't see the full picture at first, but after Aaliyah's death, everything changed for him. That's when he started writing that diary. That's when his music took a darker turn. He even spoke in interviews about how cold the industry really is, how some people will smile in your face while plotting to end you behind your back. So if Static really was trying to honor Aaliyah, protect her legacy, or even expose what really went down, it makes you wonder, was he silenced too? But now it's your turn to weigh in. Was Aaliyah's death just a tragic accident, or was something much darker happening behind closed doors? Did Static Major know the truth and pay the price for it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if you want more deep dives like this. Your support keeps the truth alive.